Today, I'm talking to Ivan Kwan, Agent Success Manager of Compass in Orange County, California. Ivan has been with Compass in Orange County from the beginning. He started as a marketing assistant for Megan Varga, helping grow her presence and business in her market. Since then, he has become an Agent Success Manager of Compass and oversees and helps agents succeed throughout the company. He talks about the common denominators of agents that include both finding your rhythm for success, defining what success is for you, and breaking through the next levels of success if that's what you desire. Today, we talk about how the common denominator of all success is aligning your strengths to the needs of your clients. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast is to share knowledge for realtors and raise awareness for Give Back Homes, where real estate professionals work together for social good. Jet Centers Aviation, Bentley Atlanta, Legends Global, thank you for your sponsorship. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. Today, we have Ivan Kwan, who he's with Compass, located in Orange County, and while he is not an agent, he is what is your agent success manager in Orange County for Compass, which basically means he works with all agents from a little bit newer to massively successful and can really give us great insight on this. Ivan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited.
I am too. So first, give us your story, how, kind of your background and how you landed in this role of being an agent success manager.
Of course. So in a nutshell, I was working kind of like an hourly job. I was working at Disneyland, the theme park. Granted, we're in Orange County. Graduated college, and I was like, shoot, I got a degree. I shouldn't be working for minimum wage at a theme park still. Went and got my real estate license, and I was ready to jump into real estate. I had my exam test scheduled, and when that happened, I also got a call from a media company by the name of ESPN, which we're all so familiar with.
Yes.
I always had a passion for sports and wanted to do that. So when they came calling, I was like, gosh, I'm gonna have to put this real estate thing in the back pocket and just give ESPN a shot. And I don't know if this opportunity will come back around. So I ended up being at ESPN for about 5 years, producing television on shows such as SportsCenter, which we all know and love, Sports Nation, which is no longer an active show, but it was kind of like your daytime banter about sports, have guests, do stunts type of thing. And then in that time, I kind of had my fix with sports and television. Had a family that was starting to grow. I think my interest in sports kind of started to dwindle a little bit, where I kind of had a knack for social media and was always like immersed in it. Yeah. Had a friend reach out who worked on a team. The agent is Megan Varga here in Orange County. So I started freelancing for her, just kind of doing social media on the side in addition to my full-time job. And that's kind of how I first got exposed to Compass. They were very new in the Orange County region.
And how many years ago was this again?
This was probably like 2017-ish.
Okay.
At end of 2017. Was expected to have my first child, and I was like, Megan, I can't do this freelance work for you. I'm just too busy. Life is changing. And then because Compass was already in my mind, it was always on my radar. And when job opportunities kind of came up, I bounced at the chance. I was like, well, I'm familiar with what this company is doing and what they stand for and what the culture is like, and I want to be a part of it. So that's where we are now.
That's awesome. So you were in media, basically helping produce TV shows.
Yeah.
Or episodes, TV shows for ESPN. Well, let's not forget Disneyland, which we have Disney World on the East Coast, just for the record. So much better. I'm kidding.
It's all right. We're the OGs, but yes,
right,
yours might be a little more larger and in scale as well.
And you're more chill. You're more chill. We're a little bit, but that's okay. We still have Disney World. So you started in Disneyland, then you're at ESPN. You get your license. You're at ESPN. After ESPN, you're at ESPN. You're freelancing for Megan, and then there's an opening at Compass. And is that when you took the agent success role, or how did that evolve?
No, it's funny. It was actually a marketing role that I first applied for. And I went all the way through the interview process, which was very intensive, by the way. It was like 6 rounds of interviews, which led up to like a FaceTime call with the CMO at the time, Matt Spangler, who now is in a different role.
Who's from
But
Atlanta, by the way.
yeah, I was like, my gosh, this is really intense.
Yeah.
And I ended up not getting the role. I was like, I don't understand why 6 rounds of interviews. I thought like I was set. I'm talking to the CMO. Then about 2 months passed. And because I had met people while freelancing and things like that, someone from the ops department at the time is what it was called before Agent Success, was like, actually, I think you would be a fit on my team. Why don't you kind of interview for an opening, because we need more people on our team. We're growing quickly. And lo and behold, it actually was a much better fit for me than what the marketing role kind of entailed.
Wow. Wow, that's
Blessing
really
in
cool.
disguise.
So you started with a team. So was it Megan Varga's team or was it somebody else?
Yeah, it was Megan Varga's team.
Awesome.
It was her, one other person, and then me as her social person. And
So we're going to get a lot of good advice on social media today.
I hope so. And, you've had a lot of great guests on your show. So I'm hoping just to add to that, or maybe give another variation of some of the tips that you've gotten. But yeah, we really helped her, her growth. And for us, Megan didn't like to be on video. So I wasn't always pushing anything that she was uncomfortable with. So we did a lot of blog content and just in-person interviews with business owners and things like that. And that's how we started, and kind of got her into the action. She sold a lot in a city called Costa Mesa. She kind of started getting a lot more out there in the city of Costa Mesa. People were seeing her. It was fun because she'd let me know, like, hey, I came back into the office, and other agents are like, oh my gosh, you're doing your thing on social media. We're seeing you so much more. So it was indirectly a plug for me, and shout outs to me.
And so that evolved into the role you're in now.
Sort of. Like, social media isn't technically in our title, but because I enjoy it so much, I kind of ask
into
for
your
it.
agent success, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I kind of bring any of the social interests to me from agents and questions that they may have.
That's awesome. So working with all of these agents, we want to really dive into, I'm sure everybody listening, I definitely want to dive into what is, when you stepped into this role, the first thing I would say is, because you weren't an agent, but you're witnessing the success of Megan and the success of agents that you're working with, what did you, when you went into the role, just as someone watching agents, what was your biggest kind of aha or game changer on this is what we all think we do, and this is what agents really do?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
that
I
may
got
be too
a
broad.
small taste of it when I got my real estate license. I was just kind of holding open houses, like had a login to the MLS and would look for properties for friends and family and things like that, just to kind of navigate around. So I had that little bit of insight. I didn't realize how much paperwork intensive it was. And I think that's what ultimately drew me off. I was like, man, I love showing homes. I love marketing, doing flyers, building a presence, and becoming like that social local expert as everyone talks about.
Yeah.
But the amount of paperwork that's involved is not fun when it comes to Ivan.
Exactly.
And that's what I learned. There's a lot more when it comes to that.
That's why we have brokers. Of course, Compass is a lot more than that, but you're exactly right, and we appreciate it. So as far as the success of an agent, what do you think when you're watching all of these agents and you're working with different agents, what is the difference between someone who's or what do you find? Well, here's a better way to ask it first. What is the common denominator of the rock stars? Or have you seen a common denominator of everybody that's like at the top, rocking it, unstoppable, relentless?
Yeah, and to kind of like shift your question a little bit,
Yeah.
I don't think it always has to be based off of production. It's not.
Right.
Because it's not a dollar
and I'm
amount,
not
because-
talking about production. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like, who are the, like, and what, let me ask you this, what makes an agent successful?
Right. And I think it's ultimately their happiness. If someone wants to do enough business, but also gets to have 3 vacations and, have a good amount of family time where they're not having to do open houses every single weekend and they're happy, then that's successful. Or if it's having a team with 10 other agents and they're growing their presence and becoming that local leader where everyone thinks about selling a home in a certain city and they think about that team, that could be success. So it really is different for every agent. And I think in my role, it's knowing that and how how I can help them with that, because it's not the same attack for every principal agent that we have here.
Exactly. Do you ever find agents don't really know what they want and they're trying to figure out what the definition for success is for them? Or they may not always think about that. Sometimes people let other people define success for them. And is there a point at which they figure out, oh, this is what number one is, define success by, the outside world to some people, but what is my success? Do you ever deal with that or see that and help? Are you involved in that part of the process with that, with agents?
Not too much, but I can speak to it like by myself. And I feel like I'm kind of going through that as well. Like not being an agent, but just being in the career that I'm in. I think it changes all the time. You find it and then life changes and then you got to find it again. And then, when I just joined Compass, like I was just recently married and then the baby happened and then my successes changes. And now he's growing. I want to spend family time. I want to make sure I'm out of the office by 5 p.m. So I kind of get a
you know what I just realized? We're interviewing a millennial. I just realized.
So I got a sense
of that at 5 p.m. Like, are you kidding me? No, go ahead.
I'm watching brand new agents come in who like just got their real estate exam and they're willing to work on a team and work 6-7 days a week, long extra hours, right? And then I'm watching that evolve into the agent that now has a small team who is trying to teach others and empower them. And then now I'm watching like really seasoned agents where maybe they're just trying to figure out, am I ready to retire yet? But I sense that the market's shifting, but I still got to be relevant for, 7 more years before I can retire. So
So how do you help? So being an agent success manager, what is your biggest strength and your biggest impact on these agents to help them find that success?
Listening more than anything. Compass has a great set of tools that they equip agents with to help with their business, right? Some love and are super excited and engaged to use it. Some are, a little more romantic on how things were, and it's harder for them to come to terms with it. So I can't come in with the same agenda and push maybe our Compass products or social media in the same vibrato for every single agent. I really have to kind of listen to them and see what it is that they want. So that's the biggest part in my role, is just listening.
So what do you hear when you listen to somebody when you're listening to these agents, do you ever find there's a difference between the agent who's found that success, like true success, and the agent who's struggling? Is the conversation you're having with them, what's the difference between that? And what's their mind? I'm going at mindset. Like, what's the mindset of somebody who's figured it out and who hasn't, and is there one?
I think for the ones that have figured it out, they're just in that rhythm, right? It's just easy. Boom, boom, boom. I know listing appointment, then leads to this, then leads to that. I'm going through, I wouldn't say the motions, but you have it. It's like an athlete who, just knows like where to run the route, where to catch the ball. Like, it's just, the timing is there. As for someone that's like really trying to gain their wheels, I feel like they're just trying different things. They're trying to see what it is that sticks. Is it door knocking that happens? Is it cold calling? Is it social media? So they're trying to like put their presence in so many different buckets to see what it is that they may truly like or what they're good at. Granted, it is all revolves around real estate, but there's always those sub points when it comes to real estate that you can grow out. Is it referrals,
I love that answer to your question, though. I've never heard anybody say it that way, is rhythm. Is once you find your rhythm, which is true whether you're an athlete, whatever you're doing in life, whether you're a writer, there's a certain rhythm and style that you develop. And when you get there, it's like, there's a quote that, clarity? What you've achieved mastery when it becomes easy, when it becomes clear. That is mastery. And in that rhythm of music or business or like being an athlete, or I used to be a big horseback rider, it was when you had rhythm and the horse has a rhythm and you find that's where it becomes easy and successful. That being said, how do you think agents find that? Because everybody's got their different thing and their different style and their different strengths. So how when they're struggling or they're trying to figure it out, first of all, just the idea of like, wait, let me find my rhythm. Like, I think there's a lot, we come in from a country where it's all about struggle. You gotta, of course we all have to hustle, but in that hustle, it's not about finding the struggle, it's about finding the rhythm. How do you do that?
How do you find rhythm is what you're asking?
Yeah. Or how do you see agents find it?
Yeah. I think the position that I am in, is a little counter opposite of that because we're Compass and we're like this new company and we're trying to change up the game. I feel like when agents come, I end up breaking their rhythm because now they come
Right.
to a new brokerage and the way they used to do things is now different. Their workflow is now a little different. I'm trying to push this new product on that will ultimately like long term help their business, but now they have to spend the time to learn it, and that breaks up the rhythm that they had.
I
So
love
really,
it.
I think
You're
I'm
so
breaking up
right.
people's rhythm,
You're
trying to
so
help them
right.
find a new rhythm under Compass.
So, and to say that, I always think about so you get in your rhythm or your comfort zone and you're good, right? But then, especially the agents that Compass recruits launching a company, they're recruiting the best. They are definitely in their rhythm. And then you come and bring them to Compass and totally disrupt that rhythm. So now what we've said, it seems totally conflicting. Like, okay, so successful agents have the rhythm, or they don't. Like, what the heck? The best analogy, and I'd love to know what you think about this, and I even say this sometimes to people when they're struggling or dealing with whatever, is, when you have a house or you organize your closet or whatever, and it's a mess, and then you get started, and then it's an even bigger mess. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what have I done? And now I can't go backwards. But if you move through it and get through to the other side of it, you're breaking through that glass ceiling of threshold to the next level of success. So now we're kind of answering two questions: is in success you have a rhythm, but to get to the next level of success, you need to break that rhythm. So tell us, can you give us any insight about what that looks like and decisions agents make and how they find that rhythm again and then break that ceiling, and what the pattern is that you're witnessing among all these guys that are in the business?
Yeah. And that's what our main role really is helping our agents transition here to the company. And, I'm not here to sell the company by any means. I'm just telling you what our main obligation is here. And I'm sure it
Right.
was difficult for you when you left. Like you probably had
Right.
your business rolling and then there was some sort of speed bump when you came to Compass. And then you probably for a minute or some started second guessing it for a sec, like, shoot, my business slowed
Right.
down or everything's so cluttered. I've
Right.
lost my
Why are
logins.
you
Where are my
laughing,
contacts?
Isaac?
Where are my
Why are you laughing?
emails?
That's
Blah,
not
blah, blah.
funny. No, keep going.
So
Right.
it's really kind of letting them know, hey, I'm here by your side. We're going to get you back up to speed so then you can function the way
Yeah.
you
Well, this is
were,
not
if not better.
this isn't your, so everybody, Ivan has this podcast, Agents of Compass. This isn't Agents of Compass. This is Jere Metcalf. Like, it's all about me. I get all that. So I love to talk about, like, forget Compass, even though it's very relevant to this, but
Yeah.
it's just success. Like, whether you're doing it at Compass or any other part of your real estate career, wherever you are, like, what does that look like? How do you break through? How do you find it? How do you know it's worth it? How do you determine when you're breaking through what you're getting to, and that it's the right thing, and that where that end goal is?
Gosh, it's a lot of trial and error, right? It's trying more than anything. And I
Yeah.
give a personal example in that, like, I'm very entrepreneurial minded. I wouldn't say I'm a true entrepreneur, or else I probably wouldn't be working for a company with a stable income. I'd probably be doing my own thing, or maybe I'd be a real estate agent. But
You'd be crazy if you were real
I
estate. No, I'm
tried so
kidding.
many
We're all
things.
crazy. Go ahead.
I went from, growing up, trying to sell candy bars like out of my backpack. And then I went into trying to more recently sell t-shirts like on an online company. And then that turned into trying to fix people's iPhones out of my house and do an iPhone repair business.
You're kind of an entrepreneur, I think.
But failed
Yeah.
because none of those stuck long term.
Well,
So
we all feel failed all the time. So
right.
it's
So now, like, I have, in addition to what I do, like, I do a photo booth rental business out of my home. And that's been happening for about 3 years. So I think I finally found that thing that sticks.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, as far as like what success is, I mean, or breaking through, it's those failed attempts at things that you were interested in or kind of had to go out and try to figure out if it worked or not.
So here's what I want to know, because we're talking almost like theories and ideas. Can you give all these agents that you've helped come into Compass and launch at Compass and then support, and I want to get into the social media component too, because you're really good at that. But when you bring these guys in, do you have a story you can give us of an agent who came in and was going great and went through like some real bumps, and by doing that on the other end of it was like, whoa, like, this is amazing?
Yeah. So when I hired in to Compass, I hired into the Huntington Beach office. When I stepped foot in, the office didn't even exist. So I was hired for an office that didn't even have a building yet. They brought in a team by the name of the Jody Clegg team. She did a lot of business in Huntington Beach, right? She comes to find out that, she's working out of a temp space now. So supposedly she thought she was coming into an office, but it wasn't quite ready yet. They were looking for a space and things like that. She kind of had a bumpy transition, having to move this was the only brokerage that this team was with her whole life. So having to move all of that now and transition all her teammates into a new space. She admitted to me that like the first few months were a bit rocky. Like sales dipped a little bit. People maybe weren't recognizing her as much because her office wasn't as accessible as it was before.
Right.
But then as she kind of found her groove, the time that it took her to transition, that 3 to 4 months. So now there's doing my math, there's 8 months left in the year. She ended up having her best year yet in those 8 months because she finally found her groove.
Wow.
Now she figured out, oh, yes, it's a slight investment, but maybe I should bring in a dedicated marketing person. Never had that person on her team.
Right.
So that ended up helping her.
That's awesome.
With our support, having to sit down and work with her team members to empower their team members so they could grow. They had newly licensed agents and they were hungry and eager. So we want to get them up to speed. And now she's I think I've onboarded 3 more agents on her team recently. So she's really kind of found her stride now. But
she's gone from salesperson to running a team that can do the business in multiples of what she did before. Would that phrase it up pretty?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And being in an environment that is supported, and I don't want to be careful what I say, but being in an environment that is very conducive to that kind of growth because the company's growing. And again, guys, this isn't a Compass commercial, but I think it's relevant as putting yourself in an environment, whatever that is, that you are growing. You're growing your business at a level that achieves what you want. Like you said, if that's what you want. If that's not what you want, you want to position yourself at Compass or wherever it is that you're supported in a way that you're getting the support to build what you want to build.
Right. And I'm sure she saw the long-term effects of it, positive. I think that's
Absolutely.
With any big decision that we make, whether it's changing brokerages or not, we're yes, I want to make the change because I see some positive impact.
Or do I want to be a team or not? That's a big change.
Right. So then making the jump to make it happen is scary.
We're gonna have to see
I was never able to make the jump to do real estate. And now, to be honest, I'm too scared now. There's too much riding on the line. There's family members to feed.
You've seen way too much. We're going to have to get Jody Clegg on the show, though, because I'd love to talk to her about that transition and building a big powerhouse team and what it was like. But I love that. You're here's the thing. My parents were doctors, and I was never, not doing that. Never going to be a doctor. If my parents were realtors, I'd probably not be a realtor. I'd be not doing that ever. If I knew what I know now, I'd love it now. But going into it, it's not what you think. I love it. So tell us about marketing. That's really what we need to be honing in on is this marketing and social media. And what did you do with Megan? What did you find were the things that really made an impact on her business, and what is your advice?
Mm-hmm. So, I don't think I wouldn't say I skyrocketed her business. I had a short amount of time, but we really put in the time that I had to kind of grow and give her more of a presence. I talked about it earlier. I really figured out what she was comfortable with. She didn't like video, so we focused more on written content. So that's really looking at yourself first and figuring out what you're comfortable with. If you like talking about food, then talk about food. Right. If you're more of a health and fitness person, talk to what you know, not what you feel like
Unless
is
you're
popular.
A realtor. If you're a realtor, please talk to something relevant to real estate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's another side of you too, Jere, that isn't all real estate, whether you're a mom or you have certain hobbies that connects you to your clients that ultimately leads back to real estate.
Right, which is the character. Everybody's going to hire you for 2 things, character, competence.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got competence, but I think you're a jerk, I'm not going to hire you. Oh, maybe, but it's not going to be good. If I think you're the nicest person in the world, but you don't know what you're doing, not hiring you. If I do, it's out of obligation, which never goes anywhere good. So it's
Right.
creating that social media and having social media alone. Would you say that is establishing character? I mean, not character, that too, but that establishes competence, the fact that you're putting out a good social media platform.
Yeah. And, not everyone that I come across is down for social media, and that's perfectly fine. I have an agent that I work with who I'm constantly like Instagramming, and I'm like, can I tag you on Instagram? Oh, I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. Okay, fine. He's doing great. He is turning around business
Right.
like all the time, constantly.
Yeah.
I feel like he's closing another deal, and that's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
To me, though, personally, I feel like social media just is the gateway to allow you to meet more people and to set up
Exactly.
those one-on-one real-life interactions.
Exactly.
It's the modern day door knocking,
So
right? Like,
your business is focused on, or one of your major strengths, I think, it sounds like, is marketing and social media. Is that true?
yeah, I would say so. I have a lot of knowledge and just
So
experience.
what's your biggest advice on? Obviously, you've got to market to what your likes are. If you don't like video, is our favorite guy, Gary Vee says, next to Chris Voss. But anyway, if you don't like video, don't do video. If you don't like writing, or if you're not good at writing, don't write. Like, do what you're good at and do what you love, and you'll do more to get the result. Everybody focuses on the result, and then there's a process to get there, but find the process you're just as passionate or more passionate about than the result. So that being said, what is your biggest advice on, the meat and the bones and the real, like, how do you do it when you do social media? If somebody wants to build a social media campaign, how do they do it? Or back up and say, if you want to do marketing that works, how do you figure out what kind of marketing is the marketing that works?
It's got to speak to you more than anything. More than anything, it has to speak to you. So, for instance, why did I start my podcast? Because I love to interview people, not because I wanted to do a podcast because I heard that podcast is the way to get more business.
Right.
For someone that is on Instagram all the time, I'm sure they weren't hearing, oh, if you have an Instagram account, you need to, because everyone needs to have an Instagram account in order
Are you sure about that, Ivan?
to get clients. Well, no, because I feel
think
like
a lot
some
of people
agents
do have Instagram accounts for business. Do you disagree?
a number of people
Yeah.
will have Instagram accounts solely because everyone else has an Instagram account and they're not really active on it. They just have a presence there and it's kind of dormant. But they
Exactly.
heard that because I need to have an Instagram account, like that's what I need to be.
Exactly.
I would say that instead, once you figure out what that platform is, and it doesn't have to be Instagram per se. Obviously, that's the most popular one and that's where the most attention is. But I mean, we all saw this week when Instagram and Facebook went down for half the day.
Right.
What did you have now? So, I mean, if you love to write, then why
Right.
not have a presence on medium.com?
So how do you know what to write about and what to do? How do you create a good marketing program?
So it's not about what to write about. Like, I hate writing, so I wouldn't do any writing. But for me, because I still have an interest in sports and that's something that I follow, I could easily be, I'm in Newport Beach right now. I could easily be that expert in prep sports. So people just know me because I have knowledge on all the local athletes in the nearby area. I know who the quarterback is. I know next year he's going to maybe go to this college. I know the local coach and I show up at some of the games. So
That's awesome.
I love football, right? I love football, and I'm branching out my real estate into my interest. And I'm sure when I go to those football games, people want to talk to me because they see on my Instagram account, I'm interviewing, the basketball player. I'm interviewing the star baseball player. Yes, that's your initial way of connecting.
Right.
They'll find out you're a real estate agent. Don't worry. You don't need to say, hey, would you like to buy or sell your home?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's important to, I talk about in business development or in lead generation, you've got a position. You do have to position yourself as an expert, and you've got to prospect. And you've got to position yourself to be able to prospect, to be able to win that business so that people trust you, your character and who you are, and like you, and also trust that you actually know what you're doing. Because unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, or I may not be an agent today, the barrier to entry is so low in our industry, which has its pros and has its cons, but it has our consumers, which I know that's a big thing of our CEO, Robert Refkin, is that, it is, the barrier to entry is low and it shouldn't be. The fact that you had to go through 6 interviews to get a marketing position at Compass, which
I didn't even get.
Right. I mean, that's insane because that's the kind of company this is. The stat a couple of years ago was like 20,000 people apply for jobs at Compass every year, and maybe 1,000 of those people get a job at Compass. It's nuts. It's like that's insane how high that is. But back to what we were talking about. What do you find is when you meet agents, or if you could tell like our audience, what are the 3 things that are your biggest pieces of advice for an agent and what you've seen agents fail and succeed at?
I think the first one is not starting. So, I mean, because of my podcast, agents will reach out, how do I start a podcast? And it's funny because I go to them and I'm sitting here with you. I have my laptop, this phone that plugs into my USB port, and that is it. They feel like they have to have this fancy equipment, this like big fancy microphone, a soundboard, a mixer, a sound guy, lighting. It's like, you don't need any of that. Just put the microphone and start recording. I think a lot of times my advice is just to start.
Just do it.
Or people feel like, hey, like your iPhone shoots 1080p video. They feel like they have to have a nice DSLR camera with the nicest lens. Like,
is that what we have, Isaac? That's what we have. But hey, this is 120 episodes.
Everyone has their budget.
Right. No, I'm being funny, everybody. I hope that didn't offend anybody or come across the wrong way. We are making fun of ourselves. But before I started the podcast, to add to what you're saying, believe it or not, I mean, I've been doing this. Are we at 2 years? 2 years every week. Every week. We missed 1 week, and I almost had a heart attack. But every week for 2 years, we have had a podcast. But to your point, I remember for a year or 2 or 3, I wanted to start a podcast. Don't wait that long, everybody, if you want to do whatever it is you want to do. And make sure it's your heart's in it. It's not just for the result, but it's for you love the like I love doing these interviews. If this podcast could get like 0 views, and what I get out of it what I learned from people like you, Ivan, and what the experience I get, and what I get out of it it doesn't even matter. And that's when you get good at it. But where I was going with that, sorry to rant so long now, but
all good.
Be willing to fail, or better. J.B. Glossinger said this. He has a podcast called, I've forgotten the name, but J.B. Glossinger, Isaac will find it for us, that says, you've got to be, I don't know if these were the words, and some people may be offended by this one, but you got to be willing to suck. You got to be willing to suck at something. And I hate sucking at anything. And I thought, God, I'm going to have to do this podcast. And I can remember Isaac's going to laugh. I can remember doing my first interview, and we didn't have it on video, and had my little headphones on. And I'm like really focused because I'm so worried I'm going to miss what he says. And I'm like really like, and now I go to the podcast and I'm like, hey, y'all, what are we going to talk about? Right? But I was willing to go in and just do it. Just do it. Don't be afraid of what people think. Don't be afraid of not being good at it. Nobody knows or cares anyway. Just do it. But to your point.
Yeah, do it and enjoy the process, and know that it doesn't have to be perfect when you start. Like, if you're a big time agent, maybe they don't have a presence on Instagram, but they feel like, if I'm going to be on Instagram, when I create my account, I need to already have 10,000 followers because I'm a big name. It's like, no, just share your honest truth. You're going to grow it, you know? Right. I remember like when I posted something on my Instagram for my personal life, like obviously my baby gets a lot of likes. Like it's easy for that. And it was Super Bowl. I had a nice little photo that came and reminded me, hey, like this was 5 years ago. And I really wanted to share it and tell a good story in the caption, even though I knew that the photo was not going to garner as many likes or impressions as my child. I posted it anyways. It's not the matter of the likes and the results than it is just going to do it and documenting that process and enjoying it.
Well, that's usually where the success comes from. I have to add one more, y'all. I can't help myself because I love this topic. I love that you brought that up, is like, don't not start. But Seth Godin. So I believe, I don't know if he's still, but everybody that doesn't know Seth Godin, most of you probably do. He wrote The Purple Cow and several other great books. If you look at him on YouTube, he gets like 1 million views a YouTube video. But he talks about, he had like the #1 blog on the internet, or he's up there. He doesn't know that. He doesn't, or maybe he has a podcast, but he doesn't even keep up. He doesn't even track the views and track the things people just tell him. And it's kind of like, we both have interviewed Leonard Steinberg, same thing. Leonard Steinberg's like, he showed up at the awards and they're like, oh, #1 is Leonard. And he was like, did they get that name right? Who was that? Was that me? Oh, me. Oh, #1 in the country this year. Woo, awesome. Because he just was passionate about what he did and focused and just got into it. And on the other end of it, he's #1 in the country. On the other end of it, Seth Godin is best-selling author, getting hundreds of thousands of millions of views on YouTube, and got the bestseller books all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, and on that topic, like I was talking to an agent and like he was turning out deals and I was like, man, are you having just like the best year of your career so far, like number wise? And he was like, honestly, Ivan, maybe, but I don't know for sure. I'm not tracking the numbers. I feel like when I start tracking the numbers, then my why is misplaced. Then I'm doing it for the metrics, the numbers to hit records. And I'm not serving my client the best way they should be served.
Exactly.
And I was like, wow. I gained a lot of respect for him when I heard that response.
It's so true. And then it goes back, because we're all over the place, but we are, but we aren't, it goes back to finding yourself. Some people are driven by that. Some people are driven by the numbers. I'm actually like him. I'm more driven by focusing on my clients, focusing on what I'm doing. When I find that I'm focusing on being, serving others and helping others and supporting others, that's where I'm massively successful and fall in love with the process that reaps those amazing results. So we've got 2 more to go, your 3 greatest pieces of advice, and then I've got 3 quick questions for you before we close out. But what's the second piece of advice you have for agents?
So the first one was starting. The second one was not being deemed to perfection, right?
Yes.
We talked about that. The third one I would say is, you kind of got me on the spot here. I don't know if I have a third one off the top of my mind.
Let's do 2. If those are the 2 that come, then 2. That's even better. Unless there's a third one you're dying to give us, it's not going to be.
It may come back, and then I might just shout it out randomly.
That's fine. That works, right? I mean, I do that stuff all the time. Glad to have somebody with me who's the same way. So make sure you start, or don't not start, and don't be deemed to perfection. Again, here's a great example. I'm forgetting his name. Isaac, who was the guy that had the $250 million listing? Ben Bacall. Ben Bacall has these beautiful videos, beautiful marketing in LA, awesome agent. What company is he with?
Great question.
He's not with Compass anyway, but he's with Rodeo Drive Realty or something like that. But anyway, he said the videos that got the most traction were the raw videos. He's like, these perfect, beautiful videos, but the videos people liked and loved were the ones that were. Now, I think we all need to think about what image do you want? What reflects the brand that you want to present and the client that interests you? But it's to the point of perfection. And do you have any examples of that before we go to our little final 3, or you pop out a third one you thought of?
No, I have not, but.
You answer the questions, I'll tell the stories. You're the numbers guy, you're the rational guy. I'm, what do they call it in foundation, CEO. I'm the big thinker. I'm did you take that class?
No.
You got to take it.
What are you referring to?
So, oh no, do not.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have to edit this out.
Can.
Don't edit it, Isaac. I'm having too much fun. But anyway, so the foundations course that Compass has that we put out and they go around.
Yes.
I mean, you may not know because you're not an agent, but we talk about the different kinds of people and how to communicate. Like when you're communicating with someone, what you've got to take in consideration, like you're definitely probably a rational thinker.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to
ask.
Am.
Yeah, my wife's the crazy one.
Right,
I'm sure.
right.
Yeah.
There you go. My husband, same thing. So he likes to call himself rational, but he's just more like the functional thinker for all of those of you who have taken it. But it really helps you understand people. So last 3 things. What is the tool that you have found is most impactful for real estate agents for their business?
The tool that I find most impactful.
Or that you've witnessed for other realtors to be successful. So is it like a CRM? Is it an app? Is it a...
I mean, I know a lot of agents find success in a CRM because it kind of helps them keep organized or it gives them tasks to do or follow-ups. I don't think that technically would speak to me, but I know that's popular.
But you're not an agent. Ivan?
That's true. So I don't get to see it from your
But
perspective.
you see the agents succeed and not succeed. Have you ever noticed there's a tool that they all use more than any, or that they all are like, this is the one, or that you've witnessed them reaping results from that they may not even actually be aware of?
Let me flip it back on you and see if it sparks anything. What's yours first?
Well, you're going to love this because mine is Contactually, the CRM, for sure,
Okay.
which Compass just purchased a few weeks ago.
Right.
And I was like, coolest thing ever. That's my favorite because Contactually categorize, you build up, of course, it's not Contactually anymore. Now it's part of Compass. Or maybe it is, I guess agents still have Contactually, but
Yep,
it's
they do.
amazing because you can literally organize it the way you want to, build out your pipeline. It tells you what to do. The whole team can see, it works with teams. The teams can see what they need to see. Our team shows everything, but if there's something that you want, like the team doesn't want to see or doesn't need to see, or something in your pipeline that they're not ready, it's confidential, you can turn those things on and off. It's incredible. And it's really, we have team meetings. We can see, we can just, I create pipelines for this podcast. I have pipelines for sellers, pipelines for buyers, and pipelines for all of my referrals. It's incredible. That's my favorite thing about it.
I mean, this is so basic, but
Yeah.
what about the fact that the power of your mobile device nowadays, right? Like
Oh,
literally,
I
you can
forgot
do
to tell you
your
that
bus-
doesn't count.
Like you can do your whole business from your iPhone.
Well, of course you can. Now
You
that's
can
the
produce
most
this
powerful
podcast from
one.
your iPhone.
Yeah, I always tell everybody anything but your phone because you're right. That is the most powerful. That is most definitely. Yeah.
Like you have DocuSign on it. You don't need to do.
I put together a counter
Login.
offer on my phone the other day because I couldn't get to a computer.
So I don't think it's fair for me to answer that question just because I feel like when I'm sitting with agents, I don't get to see that side as much. I don't get to see like their day to day in the trenches.
Yeah.
They usually come to me like for advice on a particular topic. So I wouldn't say that's fair for me to answer.
Well, this one I think you'll be fair to answer.
Okay.
Book. What book, if there's any book that you would advise we read for success, life, whatever, what would you have that be?
You already know my answer. I feel like knowing who I am in a short amount of time, I think you could guess it.
It's going to be a book by Gary Vaynerchuk.
It is. Yeah.
But which one? Crush It?
So, no. Thank You
I
Economy.
say Google has 3, but he's got 3 or 4 now. Which one?
He's got like 5 or 6. Thank You Economy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what was your biggest takeaway?
He claims that it's his most underrated book, and it's probably like the lowest selling, but I think it's the most beneficial because it just has to do with serving your clients.
Exactly. I agree. I've read 3 or 4 of his books. And Thank You Economy I loved because I think it's a component that we forget, like gratitude. Like it all comes out of gratitude. So that's awesome.
Right. And then giving without expectation. Like when you're doing nice things for your clients or you give them a gift,
Exactly.
you're genuinely giving it to them because you want to, not because you're expecting the referral to
Exactly.
come. Or expecting,
Exactly.
I don't know,
Well,
for
and
them
here's
to
the
use you
thing.
for the next deal.
Well, and this is where I was going in earlier in our interview is when you are, I think a lot of times in our business of being realtors, there's so much training and so much stuff out there about like call them 35 times and give them 7 postcards in a row or whatever. Everybody's got their own program, like go get them, go get them, go get them. And I'm all about getting them, but not in that way. When you are a person who goes, okay, focus on your customer and your client. What do they need? What is their experience? What are they looking for? What is that? And then creating a business, a product, whatever your industry is, and even whatever the model of your industry or your strengths are as a realtor, like what are my strengths? What do my customers need? How do I align them? And you create value that way, you will have so much business, I promise you. And most of you guys, a lot of you guys listening to this know it, but it's just staying in that frame of mind. When you create the value, you don't even have to ask for the business. You just have to create the value for what the consumer is looking for. What do they need? What keeps them? Fabienne Fredrickson, I quote her a lot, but Fabienne Fredrickson says, what keeps your clients up at night? What do they wake up in the middle of the night stressed out about, and what are they worried about? And that is your value. And also, what are they passionate about and what drives them in creating that product? And people will, I've said it 3 times y'all now, but they will come after you for it. So
Jere, if this was a
great
numbers
point.
game, you guys would all have it figured out by now, and we would know who the top real estate agents are, and they would never have to look for business ever again.
Wait, say that again. Say that one more
I
time.
said, if this was solely a numbers game, all of you real estate agents would have it figured out, and the top ones would be the top ones for a reason, because you knew that you need to email, 17 clients and have 3 follow-ups, and then that leads to them working with you.
Well, so
and it's not.
I'm going to have
It's
fun
not.
with you, and I'm going to be devil's advocate, even though I don't agree with that, is that the other reason is people just won't do it. You do. I mean, when people don't do, if you do it, it'll work, but you won't necessarily get the business you're looking for when you're not doing it in a way that provides value. When you're doing it in a way that the only intention is to chase them down and get them because you got to get a deal,
To serve your
it's
metrics,
like a repellent. It's a repellent.
course.
But no, I do agree with
but
you.
I understand from your perspective, though, the
Right.
more clients that you follow up with and the more people you reach out to, you're obviously increasing your chance of
And do it
business
to take
because
care
you're-
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You need that extra shot. The
I'm
more
gonna
shots
do-
you take, the more you're willing to make.
Right. Like
The
one more.
percentage may be a little lower. You don't need to be 100% though.
Right. Or one more shout out. Wayne Dyer, book Power of Intention. It's the intention of what you do that makes the biggest difference in everything. What's your intention with people?
Mm-hmm.
So just to reiterate what you said. Okay. One last question.
Yep.
I love that. I'm going to read the Thank You Economy again, like today, or play it in my car. I don't read audibles.
Neither do I. No.
Really?
I'm a
Is that what you
podcast
do
audio
too?
person. Yep.
I've got a little millennial in me. A little. Like, I won't read
I mean,
stuff
it's
like
just
that.
passive.
I will
It's
work
easy.
my
You can
ass
do it
off
when you-
24 hours a day, though. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it's passive. Like I do a good amount of driving, right? And then I'm walking
Yeah.
the dog, and then
No, I
don't know,
agree.
wife's
I'm just
cooking in
giving
the
you a hard
kitchen. Like,
time,
I don't
Ivan.
have to if it's a video, like I have
Right.
to full attention, watch it, and
Yeah.
kind of it's just so much easier.
I'm not giving you enough credit. You've just got like a business at home and a podcast and your agent success at Compass. And you've like, turned around how many agents' careers, but you're still a millennial. Anyway, so last question. What is the one thing you hope that everybody listening to us today gets out of this interview if there was only going to be one thing they remembered?
To be your authentic self. So if that means that you're not the type of person that enjoys social media to tie it all back, then don't do it, right? If you are open to trying out one of the new Compass tools to grow your business, I'm assuming a lot of people that listen are tied to Compass, then take a shot at it. Or,
Yeah.
You're trying to get yourself into a new neighborhood, but you know that like there's already a pre-existing agent and you're scared to tap in. Well, just start building those relationships slowly. Like you don't have to jump in
Slowly.
head first, like cannonball, hey, here's
No,
me.
okay.
Like,
Yeah, I agree with you. And that goes back to what is your nature? What is it? Who are you? I love that. Be your authentic self. I love that. That's
and
awesome.
so many people preach that, but I really feel like it is true. And I don't know if like maybe I'm just saying it a different way to catch on with some people, but it's the easiest as well because you don't have to fake it. You don't have to pretend to be anyone. It is you. So granted, not everyone's going to like it for that, but
Yeah.
let's play it out. I think in a net that, for as many people that may not like you for the way you are, there'll be a handful that will, and they'll work with you. I mean, the other people that don't like you, you weren't meant to be doing business with anyways. Like it was
Exactly.
probably going to be a difficult deal and you probably end up closing it and feel like it wasn't worth what I got out of it
Exactly.
anyways.
I'm going to quote Ben Bacall, and I promise I'm going to let you go in a minute, but I'm going to quote Ben Bacall again on that because he had the greatest in one of our interviews. He said, everybody thinks like they see business and they go after business they don't have, or they think they have to have it all. He said, just go get up in a helicopter or get in your Google aerial or whatever and look down. He's like, or Liz Bentley, come from a place of abundance, not of scarcity. There is so much business out there. If you hone in and focus on the business that you can serve the best, you're going to be so much more successful and it's going to be so much more lucrative.
Agreed. And with my photo booth business, like you got to think that like, because I run a photo booth business, that all those other ones out there are my competition. Yeah, right. I can't do all of that anyways. You know how many events are
Exactly.
happening in Southern California? How many weddings are happening every weekend? How many bat mitzvahs and, corporate
Exactly.
events? Like, I mean, I don't have enough booths to do them all anyways. Like there's totally enough business for everyone to go around, whether it's real estate, photo booths, any other sales driven business, it's there and we can all eat and win.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you.